This podcast may contain adult language, adult situations, spoilers, and some brief nudity, so parental guidance is suggested.
We have such sights to show you.
After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're gonna wish you had 10 beers.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast. Hello everyone, and welcome to this somewhat new episode of Cinema Recall Podcast. Okay, it's not a new episode. I originally recorded this back in 2020. I brought on my good buddy Chris Revill of Let's Chat Media, and we had a conversation all about Spider-Man. This took place right around the time that Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse won for Best Animated Feature, and since the sequel, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, is coming to theaters very shortly, I thought it would be a great opportunity to post this episode. Now, if you are a Patreon member, again, patreon.com/cinemarecallpod, you are going to hear the first 30 minutes of Season 2 of Tales from the Double R. This is a Twin Peaks podcast that I host with my good buddy Ryan Luis Rodriguez of One Track Mind over at Rabbit Hole Podcast. Again, rabbitholepodcast.com. So definitely check that out as well if you're a Patreon member. And then over on our YouTube page, I recently re-uploaded Ashley and mine's guest spot on other podcasts, as well as the recap of Season 1 of Tales from the Double R. So definitely check that out. Thank you very much for subscribing and following us on all your favorite podcast apps, Audible, Good Pods, Podchaser, Apple Podcasts. Please leave us ratings and reviews. It really helps the show out a lot. We're also available every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. at fullswapradio.com for their Vanilla Sunday programs. All right, let's get to this photosphere. I hope you enjoy our episode all about Spider-Man. All right, love you all. Take care. Bye.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
It's time to feel the rage. Join us on Film Rage, where we talk movies, current releases, coming attractions, streaming, and classic films as well. Directors and actors beware, as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim.
Hey.
And Murray.
Yo. Why is it you always talk all the time? I can't understand why your voice is so...
This is the Merman, the voice of reason. These two can't agree on anything most of the time. Some movies are mondo, some are just suck. Every week something is going to make us rage. Join us every Wednesday and
feel the rage.
Hello everyone, the Vern here from Cinema Recall, here to tell you about Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio app for iOS and Android phone. It picks up the most trending articles on the web and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable. Stop scrolling, start listening, go to newsly.me, use the promo code RECALL, and get 1 month free of their premium service. Check it out, and now, back to the show. Agent Ryan?
Agent the Vern?
The Rabbit Hole Podcast team has asked us to return back to the town of Twin Peaks to go over all the case files. Are you ready?
Have we been asked to cover the case files of the groundbreaking series created by David Lynch and Mark Frost?
The same one. We will be discussing in detail every episode from all 3 seasons of the show,
including the plot of every character, not just the mystery of who killed Laura Palmer.
Exactly. We'll also dive into why the show became such a phenomenon in the 90s and how it still influences shows today.
Will we discuss the feature film Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me?
You know, that may be our longest season yet.
So check Tales from the Double R on Anchor, Spotify, Good Pods, or listen to us at rabbitholepodcast.com.
Now, let's order some coffee and a piece of that amazing pie. back, everyone, to the Cinema Recall Podcast. Thank you very much for sticking with us. I am joined, once again, third-time guest on the show, Mr. Chris Revill of Let's Chat with Chris Revill. Hello, Chris. Glad to have you back on here, buddy. How have you been?
Oh, Vern, I've been good. I've been, as good as one can be right now, but I've been really good. Thank you so much for having me back for a third time, and it's been fun listening to you during quarantine. So thank you for all that, for all your amazing content.
And I brought Chris back on here, not because he's a handsome individual with a very good voice and wonderful persona. I brought him back on here because Chris has a birthday bash coming up this weekend. I believe on August 29th.
August 29th, correct.
Yep, August 29th there. Doing a viewing party of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We're going to get into our favorite Spider-Mans and Spider-Man moments here. But I have to ask you, Chris, did you have a good birthday?
I absolutely did. So by coincidence, so I started this podcast in 2013.
Yeah.
I could not remember what month we started the show. So it took a lot of digging, and it turned out that we had started this in August, which is my birthday month. It's also the show is turning 7. So, and then our newest addition a few months ago, Brianna, producer, her birthday's in August. So all three of us have myself, Brie, and the show itself are all turning 7 this month. So we said, fuck it, we're gonna throw our very first event ever. So it's a really big deal. We're excited, but yes, I had a wonderful birthday. I was kind of really gearing up for it to be not good, and my wife Victoria fucking knocked it out of the park and pulled together with my family, and they threw me a surprise Zoom party, and it just I can't even tell you. My family from Oregon and Indiana and California and Connecticut, and everyone was on there, and it was amazing. And we got Pat's and Katz's, I called it, which is Pat's cheesesteaks in Philly. And then Katz's Deli in New York City. You have that food shipped to your house.
Pat's and Katz? What? I'm sorry for breaking up there. What's this place?
Well, Deli? So I called it Pat's and Katz's, but there's Pat's Cheesesteak, which is like a famous cheesesteak place in Philly, and there's Geno's and Pat's. So on one night we had Pat's cheesesteak. You can get them mailed to your house, and they freeze them, and then you can cook them at home. And then the next night we had Katz's Deli, the famous deli in New York City, Katz's. And so I had the best food. I got to spend it with my family and my daughter and my wife, and everyone made it really special. And when I wasn't expecting it, it really helped. So it was a wonderful birthday.
That is amazing. Very cool to hear. And now you chose Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for your first watch party. Now, why that movie? Let's start with that. Why Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse?
And unlike you, I by no means am a film critic by any means. Besides, I do find this movie to be just just fucking near perfect. Besides the fact that it's just an incredible movie, but it's a movie that I carry with me every single day of my life. Ever since I saw this movie, it really sticks with me. There's not a day I don't think about it. It's the movie I watch when I'm happy. It's the movie I watch when I'm sad. It's the thing that needs to inspire me to live another day, and it's the thing that it's everything. In my office at work, for anyone who might not know, I guess they wouldn't know this at all because I don't really share it frequently, but so I'm a case manager for an outpatient program at a psychiatric hospital in Rhode Island. And on in my office wall, I have this wonderful art I got at Comic-Con from this artist named Nate Jones. And it's the quote of Miles about how anyone can wear the mask, you can wear the mask. And I shit you not, and I know it can sound and I mean this really genuinely, I stare at that. And my job's great, and the people I work with are wonderful, and it's never maybe as bad as you think it is. But shit happens. I've had to literally talk people off ledges, both metaphorically and literally. And sometimes you kind of need that pick me up. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is that movie for me, on an emotional level. And then on top of that, it's just perfect. It really is perfect. It is. You turn it on and it's just over. I don't even blink. The soundtrack is perfect. The animation is just out of this world. I love it so much. And then it turned out my new team, my producing team, or the Let's Chat team, also all loved it. So when we got this opportunity from this site called Sia Live, which Sia.live, which I need to talk to you about a little bit afterwards.
Sure.
Kind of presented itself that we could do an event together. We were I was like, I had to think about it. For me, watching a movie can sometimes be like work. So I was like, I need to pick something that will just excite me and everyone I know. And that was the movie. We're like, you know what? Worst case scenario, nobody shows up, but we get to watch a movie together.
But God, I will totally agree with you that Into the Spider-Verse is a really amazing movie. Not just so much a Spider-Man movie, but just a really good movie in general.
Yes.
I do like the fact about what you said before, how everyone could be wear the mask of Spider-Man. And I love the fact that it goes into all the different types of Spider-Mans right there. And I like the fact, too...
The music. The music alone. I mean, oh, God, just not even to get too lofty on it, but, like, you know, I grew up in Connecticut. I've been in New York many times. I've seen many Spider-Man movies. And until, like, maybe the Toby... Not Toby Maguire. What's the... Oh, my God. The Tom Holland movies. Like, New York never looked like New York, but, like, Miles is in Brooklyn, and they play Hypnotize, the home of fucking hip-hop and the home of Biggie Smalls. Like, that was, like... This is such a New York movie that you don't see that. It's...
But you got even think about all the different characters. I like the fact that all of them have equal time, and they all have their own character arcs that are solved. In most movies that have like a big ensemble cast or whatnot, certain characters get left out. But that's not really the case of this movie. They all have their own arcs, and they all work together as a team. I love the moments when you have, you know, the Peter Parker Spider-Man kind of trained in Miles Morales. I love the fact, too, that Peter Parker, in one alternate universe, he's, like, kind of fat and overweight.
And divorced and sad.
Yeah.
And then he like, kind of works in through his own issues of losing his wife and about being his... I mean, this whole movie is really just about fatherhood. And I'm a parent, so, like, it hits me. But, like, you know, Miles, fun fact, I've watched this movie, I'm not kidding, at least maybe 200 times. And then some of those, like, I watch it while I'm working, so, you know, not fully engaged. I didn't know until a couple months ago that Jeff wasn't Miles' father. That Jeff is Miles' stepfather.
Oh.
But they never say it in the movie, which it makes it that much more powerful for him and Uncle Aaron. So you have the Miles, and then you have the stepdad-dad relationship. Then, you know, he's got the relationship with his uncle. There's a lot of, like, you know, father figure stuff going on there.
Sure.
You have the Peter B. Parker, who is, like, you know, he was too afraid to have children and lost Mary Jane over it, like, and kind of turned him to the schlubby, sad, depressed Spider-Man. And he even says in the movie, "Do I want kids?" You know, and then you get to see Spider-Gwen, who lost, I believe, I might screw this up. Did she lose her father?
Yes.
Yeah, because she couldn't save her father, but she saved her best friend, Peter Parker.
Or, no, wasn't she lost her best friend, Peter Parker?
But yeah, either way, but like there's so much of there's like just so much parent stuff, and like obviously that speech with Miles and Jeff is just like fucking gets you.
And here's the weird thing too. I mean, the movie has a lot of like heartfelt drama at heart, and you look at who wrote the screenplay. You have Phil Lord, who's known for doing the Lego movies and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and the 21 Jump Street. Same thing with co-writer Rodney Rotham, who's also known for doing those Lego movies as well, and the 21 Jump Street series. So these are two writers. Exactly. I mean, these are writers who are known for doing like comedy series, and
it's a funny movie. It's a really funny movie.
Oh, but it does have some, you know, good heartwarming moments to it.
Oh yeah. And I think, I mean, you have Spider-Ham. Come on, John Mulaney as Spider-Ham is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
I kind of, when I saw the movie on, like, Blu-ray, they have that little short of Spider-Ham.
Oh, I watched it. It's great.
And I think you can watch, like, the extended cut that puts it, like, before the movie. I kind of wish that's how the movie began, was kind of
the Spider-Ham. You know what? I thought that, too. Like, remember, like, the old, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit? When, like, I would see that in theaters, there's always those, like, Looney Tunes shorts in the front.
Yeah.
You know, Pixar would later do that, but I actually thought that, too. I thought that would have been cool. But I went, you know, can I tell you a quick funny story?
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law, Alex, and I went to go see this in theaters, but, let me start over. Him and I went to go see Ready Player One in theaters, and then a few weeks later, it was Mother's Day, And I remember seeing the preview for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but I couldn't remember what movie I saw because that's how bad Ready Player was. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it was forgetful. I was more emotionally connected to the trailer to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse than all 2 hours of Ready Player One, and I need to find a reason to bring that up any chance I can, because that's how much I hated that movie. But and then end up seeing and I still walked into Spider-Verse. I had no idea what it was. I was just like, whatever. It's a cartoon. It's Spider-Man. I'm fine, and I loved it. So it worked out. I'm glad I got to see it in theaters.
So since we're talking about Spider-Man, what was your first introduction to Spider-Man? Did you know him from a cartoon series or movies? Where did you first hear the character Spider-Man?
Growing up, it was the cartoons. I'm trying to remember which animated. It might have been Spider-Man the Animated. It would have been around the time the X-Men was on TV.
Yep.
Because I remember that Spider-Man crossover episode very well.
Yep.
I feel like looking back, Spider-Man was just always one of those characters that was there. Mm-hmm. As much as it might surprise people, I didn't really grow up really into superheroes. I liked the X-Men. I liked the X-Men cartoon growing up, and I liked the Spider-Man cartoon. And then that was probably the earliest. And I really remember kind of always having a soft spot for Spider-Man. I love the Toby Maguire movies. At one point, I remember really thinking I liked the Andrew Garfield ones. I haven't gone back to them, so maybe they're garbage, but I saw it and I liked it at the time, and I've decided to never watch it again just to leave myself with a happy memory.
Well, here's kind of the weird thing, too, about the Amazing Spider-Man series that Mark Webb directed that had Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. So you had screenwriters Alex Kurtzman and Robert Orkey, I'm going to mess with the name there. They were one of the screenwriters of this. Well, their claim to fame is the first two Transformers movies.
I actually kind of like the first Transformers movie a lot.
Okay, right up there. The Mummy reboot, the one with Tom Cruise.
Didn't see it.
They also did Michael Bay's The Island.
Sure, it sucks.
The one. Actually, that movie, The Island, is the least Michael Bay-ish of Michael Bay movies. It's actually not bad. He kind of tones down his style. Doesn't have a bunch of weird camera angles in there. It's different and weird. And Star Trek. They did the Star Trek reboot. So. I also remember the Spider-Man video games. I think that's some more of my deeper connection. But that's not till later, right? Because that's not till the PlayStation 2. Gotcha. I think for me, though, the first time I ever read anything of Spider-Man is probably the comics. I remember going to a comic book store in my hometown, and I was going through some of the comic book issues, and there was one, it was a Spider-Man comic book that had a holographic cover on it, like a 3D holographic cover, and I had no idea. I've heard about Spider-Man before, but I never really started reading it. But I bought the issue, and I really got into the story, and I like the fact of Spider-Man being about this guy who has these powers, and he's not really happy with them.
Yes, I always love that too. Kind of like that old tale, you get careful what you wish for, you know what I mean?
It does really good too. He's able to defeat crime, and people are loving him and taking pictures of him, but when it takes the costume off, no one really knows who he is. He's like...
yeah. And I always related to it, even as a kid, of all the superheroes, it was, minus the part of me being bitten by a radioactive spider, but, it was somehow, it could be you.
Yeah.
Because, the spider just gave him the powers, but it was the lessons that he learned from Aunt May and Uncle Ben that gave him his ethics and his morality and made him a good person. Because you know what I mean? That's again, anyone can wear the mask. That's the whole point in the SpiderVerse. It's just Miles is just a good dude anyway, and then he got the powers.
Yeah.
Or and the same with Peter and all of them. And I think that was just what I've always loved about it. And then I always loved it too because he was a kid and he was in high school and. I don't think I would have had the language for this as a kid, but now looking back at it, thinking there was something nice about it that he was being punished in a way for this great gift. And there was, it was so cool to see a superhero at an earlier part of their life, like that Jesus guy in the Bible. Doesn't that skip over I never really read it, but doesn't it skip over a bunch of years? That could be pretty interesting. Has anyone thought about writing that?
I don't think so. They could. They should.
Hey, let's talk afterwards. I have a whole side podcast we might be able to make a lot of money off of.
Okay.
Possibly some death threats.
Basically so. So after, the comic series have come out, there have been a few animated shows and a TV show, And I know they tried to actually make Spider-Man into a feature many times. They tried once in the 70s or so. And I know people were attached in the 80s. But it wasn't until Sam Raimi came out with the movies in 2000 for the first one and 2002 for the second one that really kind of pushed the superhero genre into a blockbuster field. There's been other movies before Spider-Man. Yeah. X-Men did moderately good as well.
Arguably too, because that was not as superhero-y. Like, there's no costumes, and I love that movie. But like, if we're looking at what the superhero genre became today, Spider-Man does seem to be kind of that first foray. Because even X-Men was so gritty and just was like a hair away from being reality. At least this has a little more fantastical.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, Spider-Man comes out, and it's much more fantastic. They took a lot of blueprint, I believe, from Richard Donner's Superman in '78, by basing it in reality, but having that very much fantastic element to it. And I thought that it was really great. I mean, first of all, Sam Raimi, who's known for doing horror movies, he did, of course, the Evil Dead series, Drag Me to Hell. But yeah, I thought for sure. What I like the best about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is the fact that he just took pages from the 60s comic book series into the 21st century. It felt like a comic book that was... I kind of wished he would set his movies in the 60s and have Spider-Man be there. Because trying to set that type of style into the modern 2000 world, it was fine visually, but maybe didn't work so much story-wise. So I thought that if you wanted to copy... Because I know that's what Sam Raimi grew up with, was the comic books from the 60s, and I read a lot of those issues. So when I saw that movie on the big screen, I'm thinking, oh, wow, well, this is a panel that I saw from this comic book wrote in 1963. So if they would have set those movies in the 60s, I think they would have held up even more today.
I couldn't agree more, and Toby Maguire has have you ever seen the movie Pleasantville?
Yeah.
His Spider-Man character is just so reminiscent of his character in Pleasantville.
Oh, very much so.
Which I think works very much.
Yeah.
But I think, as you said that, I was like, oh my god, that movie, because I do like that movie, but there was always a part of me that thought Toby was just like a little one step too 1950s for the 2000s world. I'm glad you said that. I never had put my finger on that until now. See, this is why I like talking to you and you movie podcasters, because you kind of help me understand the movie a little bit better on a level I didn't really grasp it. Like, I'm first to admit that I need to talk it over or watch a review of it before I can really make my own decision.
Sure. And even all the villains in all three Spider-Man movies, they all big, over the top. They're acting the way that they've seen the characters being drawn and their bubbles being displayed. I'll get you, Spider-Man. I'm the big bad guy right now.
Yeah.
I like the fact too that you cast Academy Award nominated actors such as Alfred Molina in the second one, and
he's good.
Yeah, William Dafoe is the Green Goblin in the first one. They're both really good, but they're just taking it from those series from that time period. And during that time period, you could be a little bit more over the top. If you look at movies from early back in the day, the acting was a little bit more over the top because they're coming from a radio vaudeville sort of way, and so things had to be more over the top. And I don't think acting really started to get more realistic until the late 70s or so, late 70s and 80s, when movies started to get somewhat on a realistic level. I'm sure people look back at the 2010s and 20s and be like, my gosh, your acting was so cheesy and hokey. I can't believe that. People cried at the end of Avengers Endgame. My God, that movie was so cheesy. I just imagine some kids say. I bet your daughter will probably say that too when she gets a little bit older.
I know. I'm like, you're not gonna get it. It's different. But yeah, that movie destroyed me. Yeah, and how funny too for SpiderVerse, for a movie that was so fantastical and all this fun stuff. They use Kingpin, the most human villain, and then give him a human story that makes me kind of connect with him. And
I know,
you still get Green Goblin and all the other stuff, but what a choice. As you were saying all that, made me think. I was like, wow, of any villain they could have used there, they used fucking Kingpin and Prowler.
Yeah. God,
they're smart.
you bring up a lot of good points about the Into the Spider-Verse that, I would like to watch this again. And you can too by checking out the Let's Chat podcast birthday bash, where they're going to do a watch party of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm going to be there. I never mentioned this. Man. I never mentioned this, but where can they find that? Where, if they want to see this with you and celebrate the birthday?
Yes. I'll send you a link to put in the show notes as well, but we're doing this through a website called sia.live. I have the invite I can send everyone as well. So I want to just do a quick explain of what it is. So it's a little bit different than your typical rewatch. It's really cool. I've gone to a couple of their events. I've had a lot of fun. So Sia Live is the way to watch movies like together. So it'll be myself and my entire Let's Chat team, and we're going to be hosting it, and you'll be able to watch along with us, and we'll have like little video boxes at the bottom with the movie, and we'll be communicating and talking through the movie. Then there'll also be a chat box. We can also bring people onto it, what they call like the stage. So people like you, the Vern, can come on and interact with us and talk, and it's really interactive. It's really fun. Oh. I had found out about it through I had gone to one of them. They did one. Paramount Studios does like a series every Thursday, but they were doing it was Griffin Newman and Paul Scheer were doing Galaxy Quest, and I went to that, and I fucking love Galaxy Quest.
Oh,
and I love
God.
Paul Scheer, and I got to like go interact with Paul Scheer, who was like basically virtually meet him, and it was fucking awesome. So it's going to be really cool. So please, if you can make it, sign up. Send us your address if you like. We'll send you some merch. And if not, anything, we're on the Let's Chat podcast and all the things. We just love to talk and interact. If this goes well, I'm hoping that we're hoping to do more of these and kind of, I'm hoping this can be something that can turn into more frequently, because it sounds fun.
That is awesome. That sounds amazingly cool, and I'm more excited to check it out. Kind of get back more into Spider-Man, if you don't mind. So here's the weird thing too. So everyone thinks Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi version, is like one of the best, and I do think it's really, really good. I think what makes Spider-Man 2 really good and kind of stands out is the fact that you have Academy Award nominated and winner screenwriter Alvin Sargent write the screenplay. He's known for Ordinary People and Paper Moon, and he's the one known for the 1970s version of A Star Is Born with Barbra Streisand. So he knows like a lot of good stuff there. And I gotta say, what I like the best kind of about Spider-Man 2 is that it does show kind of like the downside of being a superhero. I never really seen that before in a movie. I never saw a character have like a downside. Even the first movie where it ends and everyone thinks that Peter Parker and Mary Jane are going to get together, and they don't. I mean, that was kind of a dark ending for a superhero film. People are like, no way, the hero's supposed to get the girl, and this is, and people always thought that he was a little bit like too whiny and complacent, and I can see that a lot, like maybe in the third movie, because the third movie, Sam Raimi has mentioned that everything kind of went off the scales there. It was supposed to be just a movie with just the Sandman, but the studios really wanted to have Venom because audiences like the Venom. So he had to like kind of like pigeonhole that whole story arc, and it just kind of fell apart because. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, do you ever like kind of feel bad for directors in some sense? Because like, we think they have all the say and power and control, but the bigger the movie, the bigger the budget. Like that's just not the case. You know what I mean? Like even Sam Raimi still had bosses to answer to. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even see. I never actually saw that one on purpose because I heard it wasn't very good. And I was like, and I don't like Eric Foreman or what's his name, Topher Grace very much because I could never tell him and Topher and the other guy, Toby Maguire apart. So I heard it wasn't very good, which.
It's true, but it's a lot better than the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay? I didn't see that one either. I saw the first Amazing Spider-Man.
And I did not mind the Amazing Spider-Man, the one that was directed by Mark Webb, whose previous credits was, I believe, the 500 Days of Summer, which I really liked. And
okay, I didn't see that either.
Oh, that's actually kind of a fun, cute movie, but that's like a romantic comedy.
Yeah, I heard it was good.
He's going from that to doing a Spider-Man movie because apparently Sony wanted to hold on to the rights for Spider-Man. They were not going to let Marvel take the origins yet. They're like, oh no, that's our baby right there. We got to hold on to that. So they had to create another movie. And I liked Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I did. I thought I thought it was really good. The issue I had with those movies was that it wanted to tell another an origin story. And I didn't want that to happen. If it did not do an origin story, so you know about the whole Death of Gwen Stacy story arc in Spider-Man. You know about that, right? You know.
No.
Okay. Well, it's a very kind of well,
I just keep it. I'm not ruined by it.
Okay, I mean, it's one of those storylines in like comic book lore that's been told before. Like I knew about the Death of Gwen Stacy. I never actually read the story of Gwen Stacy, but apparently Peter Parker had the love of his life, Gwen Stacy. They met at the, I believe it was the Daily Bugle, and they're out dating somewhere. The Green Goblin finds out that Peter Parker is dating her, and so Green Goblin basically just kidnaps her, and while they're fighting, the Green Goblin actually kills Gwen Stacy. But it's this whole big kind of story arc. And my issue I had with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that they took this big dramatic arc that took like several issues of this comic book story to build up the relationship with Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man, and they just kind of pigeonholed it into like a little like 10-minute fight sequence. And
that's fucking dumb.
That's exactly, because like in the Amazing Spider-Man 1, you have the whole thing with the Lizard, and the Green Goblin doesn't really come in until the second half of Amazing Spider-Man 2 because you have what's his face? I want to say it's Damon Wayans. No, it's Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx.
Yes.
As the Electro guy, and if they would have stuck with Green Goblin from the first movie to the end. But I know the studios didn't want to do that because they're like, well, no, the Green Goblin was in the Sam Raimi version of Spider-Man. We can't have it be for our version of Spider-Man. We got to introduce more different characters. But the Gwen Stacy storyline, that was super popular with comic book fans. We should appease to them, so we'll just kind of throw this in as like the last-ditch effort. And you can't really do that with the storyline.
I know, and they don't even build her up very much.
No.
You know?
Not
am I wrong? Am I forgetting this? But isn't after this movie, the Sony hack is shortly after, and that is the reason we ended up getting Spider-Man in the MCU? Because I think they were going to make another Amazing Spider-Man until the Sony hack.
I really don't know anything about that, but that could be too.
I had to look up. I think if I'm remembering correctly, it was like, I won't even try to speculate. I don't recall, but I do remember there being a whole thing about the reason we got Spider-Man into the MCU is because of the Sony hack revealed, like, like or whatever. Like, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, it was like even Sony hated the Spider-Man into the Amazing Spider-Man 2 as well.
Oh,
like what the fuck are we doing here?
I know, right?
But yeah, I think you said it right, and it was like they just wanted to hold on to the intellectual property.
Mm-hmm. Well, then they made kind of the right turn and had Spider-Man appear. I believe it was Captain America: Civil War.
Yes.
Was the first
that
time
was awesome. The first time he pops in.
Oh,
wait. Does he pop in one movie before that? No, it is that one. It's that one.
Yeah. And I thought that was absolutely great. And then I'm so confused by the whole how the timeline works or whatnot. So I think Homecoming comes before Infinity War. I think so. I could be wrong. Like,
yeah, I'm not the best at that either.
I'm not either. So it's clear right there. But Homecoming comes out.
Oh my god, how good is Homecoming?
Homecoming was really like a lot of fun.
Again, same thing. Like the first time I ever watched a fucking movie, a Spider-Man movie in New York set in Queens that actually looks like Queens, and like I actually saw that in Queens in a movie theater that looked like the people in the movie. Like it was just such. It was so. It just had such a feel to it, you know.
It was a nice little like kind of rebirth of the character. Tom Holland.
I mean, how lucky is Marvel that they actually somehow found the real life Spider-Man without the powers? Like he is literally Peter Parker. He's not even trying. No. He is so goddamn adorable.
Yeah, very very charismatic, really good. I liked I like the fact too. You got Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, a very beautiful, attractive Aunt May. Jon Favreau is back there. I liked his dynamic of him trying to be popular, going to that party as Spider-Man. I thought that was a lot of fun. Michael Keaton.
I mean, we have Batman, aka Birdman, playing
the Vulture.
Was he the Vulture? Like,
yeah.
And like myself, I didn't know that Keaton used to be a comedian when he started off as a comedian. So like, what a career that guy's had, huh?
Oh, very much so. And you got a screen credits here by John Francis Daly, who I know.
Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
I know. I had no idea that he was like such a talented writer.
Yeah.
Him and I forgot his partner's name, but like they've done a lot.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Maybe it's Jonathan Goldstein. I think that might be. I'm not 100% sure about that, or who teamed up with you there. But yeah,
and yet, there is like a little bit of a Freaks and Geeks DNA to the character that they do in The Homecoming and Far From Home. Like there very much is that like kind of outcasty, and you want to fit in, but he can't. And his best friend's a big dork. And what's his friend's name? I'm sorry, I forgot. But I love that actor and character. It is fucking hilarious.
Oh, he was good. If I can find him on my
but he is just
here.
Oh my god. And then Zendaya is just like that the little twist at the end that she's MJ.
Yeah.
That
gosh.
That movie, oh god. And that was annoying too, because that's a movie that would whatever the rights were, it would never always be on the right stream. It would always end up being on like Stars or Amazon and never Disney Plus. And it kind of annoys me because I want to watch it.
I know, right? The actor's name, the friend of Peter Parker, is actor Jacob Batalon.
I love that man. Oh my god! And we get Donald Glover in Homecoming, which is like a nod to. I'm a huge Community fan, and there's also a nod to Donald Glover in SpiderVerse, bringing it full circle. But that's just there was. Do you recall the whole Spider-Man campaign to get Donald Glover to be Spider-Man?
I do remember that.
Like, yeah, he got like death threats, and he was on Community, and Community made a reference to it. But it was so cool to kind of bring him in, and in that movie, he's playing. Is he Aaron Davis in that movie?
I think so. In the Spider-Man Homecoming, I want to say that
they don't reference him. I think he is supposed to be like Miles. Yeah.
Yeah, his name is Aaron Davis in that. So.
Yeah, and because that's in SpiderVerse, Aaron Davis is Prowler, and his dad's Jeff Davis. But I think that I don't know if that stays true to the PlayStation games. Which, side note, how crazy is it that the next Spider-Man game is going to be a Miles Morales game? Like this Miles character, like the SpiderVerse movie, I think. It's not the most popular of the movies, but I think the people who like it fucking love it.
Oh, I think it's extremely popular among Spider-Man fans. I really do. I mean, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and let me
tell you, I found out a lot of my fan base never heard of this movie. So that was let me tell you, when you're throwing a watch party and you don't do any market research, and then you find out a third of the people you asked, they're like, oh, I never saw it or ever heard of it. I was like, oh. But that's also weird because I know my Let's Chat audience is a little, which I am grateful and wonderful for, are a bit of a hodgepodge of all over the place of different sects, and not everyone scoops over to the geek culture like us.
Yeah, it's fine. No worries about that.
But I feel like this is a movie like it's. I was trying to tell a friend of mine, I'm like, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse is a movie for people who don't like Spider-Man, superhero movies, or cartoons.
But it's also for people who do like superhero movies.
Exactly.
And cartoons. It's kind of has.
For everyone.
Because I remember I was living in a house and I showed one of my roommates this, and she was like, I don't know, a cartoon. It was late at night. We got done, to a bar, and we went to watch something. I'm like, you haven't seen Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. It's like, I'm not really in the mood for a cartoon. This could be a kid's thing. Yep. In about 10 minutes, she was like, just hooked on it and just could not look away from the TV at all.
Spider-Man doesn't die in the kids' version in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, and we were kind of drunk beforehand, and she thought she was going to fall asleep to it, but no, stood up and watched the whole thing. And the movie's not a short movie, so that's
my wife. Power. I should probably steal this from her so I can sound smarter, but I'll give it to her credit. Okay. She said this about Spider-Verse. She said, "It's just a good movie to listen to."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, because it's kind of, like, I've seen it enough, but, like, sometimes I get pretty high and then I lie down and shut my eyes and I just listen to it because there's just a lot of cool noise. There's just a good score. There's a lot of it's a very engaging audio and visually and auditorially a very engaging movie. And if you see it enough, like it's like as I'm saying, like when you're like a little drunk and maybe your eyes aren't open all the way, it's still just it just drags you in with all the noise, you know.
Yeah. The same thing can be said too with the soundtrack for Spider-Man: Homecoming, because I liked kind of the mixture of the old school rock songs and rap songs there. And my favorite moment happens at the end of Homecoming in any movie I've seen. It's when Aunt May opens the door and sees Spider-Man in the suit with like
my God.
and she goes, "What the?" And then it goes right into I think it was the Ramon Street Pop or something like that. It was the perfect ending to a movie.
That's so true. And I like how they did that in Far From Home, where it ends and then it kind of subverts everything you saw the last 30 seconds or the last 2 hours. Like it ends on such a cliffy. Like, the first one, like Homecoming ends with his identity being ruined by his aunt, and then the second one ends with his identity being ruined to the public.
Yeah. I did not like the Spider-Man Far From Home as
well, this
much as
podcast
Homecoming.
is over.
What's that?
This podcast is over.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
just kidding. I really liked it, but that's I didn't
thought,
take it, so I don't care.
I thought that Peter Parker was a little bit too stocky with the MJ character. Just a little bit, just too much, just kind of like hold back a little bit, dude. I thought I never really got why he was into her that much, because it didn't seem like she was into him that much. Why is he into her? Yeah, the whole thing about give away the glasses and that being the whole secret right there, I thought.
But as I'll say, is you're someone who watches movies a lot more smarter than I do. I'm more of a popcorn movie fan. So I get where you're coming from.
It was it had enjoyable moments there, but I had to say I enjoyed Homecoming way more than Far From Home. I do. I love that, and I love Into the SpiderVerse more than a lot of the Spider-Man movies too. Like, I'm kind of neck and neck between Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi, and Into the SpiderVerse, and each day one just slightly overlaps the other because of certain scenes, like the scene where in Spider-Man 2 where Peter Parker saves the train and they know his identity and they all carry him and they give him the mask and the kid says, "We won't tell anyone." That moment just always gets to my heartstrings right there.
Sure.
So
yeah, that's not Miles jumping off a building to "What Up, Danger," is it? Because that's a better moment. But no,
that's a good moment too. That is an amazing moment in there.
Yeah, I know. God, what a great character that they Stan Lee, and is Kirby one of the creators of Spider-Man as well? Jack Kirby.
I think Jack Kirby. Yeah, I know Stan Lee came up with the character design for that, and Jack Kirby. Yeah. But my other favorite thing too from the comic books, and I forgot to mention this too. So I was a big fan of Spawn when I collected comic books.
I used to like Spawn a lot too.
So then I kind of, when I was doing research about the creator of Spawn, Todd McFarlane, he did his own reboot of Spider-Man in the 90s that had the Lizard. And that version, those series of Spider-Man comic books that Todd McFarlane drew were like very dark. I mean, if that got turned into a series, it would be just like the HBO animated series of Spawn. It's very kind of a dark and gritty. Yeah, so that was my other introduction to that character, and I just had to mention that.
Did you watch Venom? I didn't see it.
Yes, I saw Venom. And,
should I?
Okay, what's that guy's name?
Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is good in the movie, and I think the movie would have been fine if it wasn't a Venom movie. It's a buddy cop comedy with an alien.
Kind of like what they were trying to do with Joker, where you like take a different job. Like they're trying to be Marvel, but they're not as good at it.
It's like, but it's more like in a comedy sense right there, because Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, he's like this investigative reporter, kind of down his luck, and his girlfriend wants nothing to do with them. He loses his job. Then he gets infected with the alien species. Remember? Okay, actually, do you remember the movie All of Me with Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin?
No.
So Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin, they made this movie called All of Me, and Steve Martin plays like this snobbish guy who gets possessed by this wacky ghost played by Lily Tomlin, and it's just a different, like she plays the more goofy kind of ghost, and he's like this straight-laced guy. It's really funny. I think Carl Reiner was the director of All of Me. So yeah, it does have some really good funny moments in there. A lot of good...
How did I, with all those names you just mentioned off in that time period, how did I miss that?
Yeah, good physical comedy right there. It's not perfect movie, but watching Venom felt like they were just trying to do a reboot of All of Me. And they really, so Venom has always been like this really like hardcore, scary character. And in that new movie, it turns into kind of a comedy. And so me being a fan of the comic book and that character, I was disappointed. But it was funny, so I tried not to look at it as a Spider-Man movie in a way, or Venom character. Just look at it as like a comedy, and you'll be able to enjoy it. And I did have some fun with it, but I gave it a low rating just because I knew they wanted to have more reboots than this and connect it with Spider-Man, and it just failed in that nature completely.
That's such a bummer.
Again, Sony, like, you know, they lost Spider-Man to Marvel, so they want to still hold on to some of the characters.
Yeah, of course.
Make, you know, a movie with them, and Venom's like one of the most popular characters. And that, see, I don't want to give any spoilers away, because at the end of Venom, they introduce another famous Spider-Man villain, and they wanted to do a sequel to Venom so bad, and I don't know if they actually will because of like COVID and all this stuff there, but I'm sure they will, and it could be bad or good. If they're gonna keep it in the comedy vein right there like they did, then yeah, it could be fun, but just don't try to connect these movies to Spider-Man and the Spider-Man movies. You don't need to do that shit.
Yeah, they don't all have to be MCU, you know? It's like, you know, you don't have a Kevin Feige, just chill.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Sometimes a movie can just be a movie, like a standalone thing, and sometimes that's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we're kind of coming close to our end about our discussion on Spider-Man, unless you have more, because I kind of ran out of notes.
You know, I know it's on SpiderVerse, but one thing that I always like to tell anyone I can who's listening to please make this movie. In Spider-Man Far From Home, there's a scene where the moment when he's walking on the bridge with MJ before he's about to reveal that he's Spider-Man to her. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that part by any chance?
Yeah.
It's like not even a minute. It has such a feel to that movie. Have you ever seen? Oh my god! God, I'm so sorry. Something Paris, not Midnight in Paris. It's like an Ethan Hawke movie.
Oh, Before Midnight?
After sunset, before sunset.
Before sunset, before sunrise.
Yes. It had, like, for a second, it had such a before sunrise feel, like that little section of the movie. Like, I wanted the Spider-Man stuff to disappear, and I wanted to see an entire rom-com, like, before sunset, or before sunset.
Just with, like,
of those actors. There was so much chemistry. And it was the moment I realized I was old, because I remember looking at that being like, oh, they're so cute together. But I looked at them as kids. Like, they were not, I know they're adults and, like, you know, some people are supposed to be, like, young, but, like, it wasn't like there's a sexual attraction. I was like, look how adorable these little kids are. They're about to have their first kiss. And I realized, like, oh god, I'm officially an old man. But anyway, no, besides, I don't know, I just feel like that is something I was thinking of. I always like to share.
That wouldn't be too bad. You know, I like to see, like, the Marvel series kind of do something different and not have be, like, an action movie. Like, a kind of day in the life of their characters.
I see them on a date, you know? Like, I think that's a testament to both of those actors. I felt that I wasn't aware who Zendaya was before that, really. Like, I didn't know anything about her, but I really fell in love with the characters on, like, a dad wanting their daughter to have, like, their first boyfriend kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I thought a really good job, but and my last thoughts on SpiderVerse. I mean, I have so many. I by no means am I like a film expert on it. Every time I watch it, I find out something new about it. I just learned, like, recently, like, in the beginning, the animated shit is a little fuzzy as a homage to, like, the old comic books, and then you know, it's just, I don't even know if I could tell you I have a favorite part of that movie, because I feel like every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's my favorite part. Oh no, that's my favorite part. Oh, that's my favorite part. No, that's my favorite part.
I still get a kick at the very end of kind of both sequence where they have the whole 1960s with the Spider-Mans pointing at each other, and
oh, I love that.
You know,
I mean, I know in SpiderVerse the most common favorite scene is the scene when Miles jumps off the bank, and it's like it's a leap. That is scene, and it definitely might be my favorite. But honestly, the one that for me that really sticks out that I want to like one day do a video essay or write a dissertation on is the scene where him and Uncle Aaron are underneath Fist Tower and they're doing the spray paint of the Great Expectations thing.
Yeah.
And it literally does an entire like exploration of hip hop in like that like sequence. And it starts with the very first like hip hop song was the that 6-second thing from the funky drummer, that little because it's the way. Side note: the way the evolution of hip hop, you can actually go to the place where hip hop was born in. I want to say it's the Bronx, but it was that second sex beat. That beat was for when the DJ was scratching. They like a disco song. You would stretch the record to switch records, and that would be like they called that the break. And they start that sequence with the SpiderVerse of doing the little thing, and you hear, and then they do the Apache, the dun. Dun, dun, dun. So you have like a nod to like disco, which is then burst hip hops, and then we end that song with fucking Run DMC, who are the godfathers of hip hop. But we've already had Biggie, and then this whole movie, and then you get to another scene with like Black Cavalier doing the What Up Danger. Mm-hmm. Like this movie is your Post Malone, like, and I'm not even like a hip hop head. This movie is such a love letter to hip hop, which is one of the most American art forms that you can have, and it takes place in Brooklyn, where hip hop is like born. Like and I'm a hardcore punk. I grew up in the punk scene, and hardcore music and hip hop are both birthed in New York City. Very tied.
They're both in the same together right there.
There's a lot of crossover. So for like the independent hardcore punk loving music, like they put that much detail into just the music of Spider-Man. Never mind, there's a whole story in the fact that we didn't even get to discuss that Nicolas Cage is in it. That's how good this movie is.
Yes, the Spider-Man guy. Oh gosh, we talked about all the different Spider-Mans. I like the sequence too where they go to each of their origin stories. I thought that was a brilliant moment there. And I don't want to talk too much because we got to kind of wrap things up here. But I really want to. We could probably come on there and just talk about. We got like a whole 2-hour discussion about Spider-Noir, another 2-hour discussion talking about Spider-Ham and the Penny Parker. Is that the girl with the robots?
Penny Parker, I know.
Yeah.
And just for any chance I can someone retroactively give Shamiek Moore every award ever made for his portrayal of Miles Morales, because I don't understand it. That dude did something in the voice act and I've never seen done before. I don't understand what he did. I love this movie with all my heart. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, man. I'm hoping that the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2, or whatever they're going to call that, is going to be just as amazing. Please tell listeners out there where they can find you again, Chris.
Sure, at Let's Chat Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And actually, as of today, we just started a Patreon. Ooh. That's at Let's Chat Pod. We're still getting that going on. And let'schatpodcast.net. Everything you need is right there. And I'm hoping to be hopefully you'll start seeing me out there more as doing more podcasts and hopefully doing some more hosting of things. It's starting. I tell you what, having a team I thought was going to be like, cool, this will ease up my workload and then I could chill. And it turned into, all right, I have more time. Let's host movie parties, moderate panels, and just engage and be friends with the whole internet, because that's what life is all about, is making friends.
Perfect, man. Alright, so that's going to wrap up this episode of Cinema Recall. As always, thank you for listening. Now, this is the portion of the show that I give shoutouts to all of our wonderful Patreon supporters. So, no special order. I'm going to give shoutouts right now to Mr. Jason Soto of Rabbit Hole Podcast. Thank you very much, Jason. I gotta give shoutouts to Matt and Ashley from Mashley at the Movies. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I want to thank Linda Castro from Bed Knobs and Broomflits. Thank you very much, Linda. I gotta thank Harvey Andrus, the guitar player, for Your Ex-Girlfriend. Thank you very much, Harvey. I gotta thank Mr. Danny Roberts from the Deep Sea Anthologies, as well as formerly of Cage's Kiss. I gotta thank Jeanette Maitenham from AKA Jeanette. Thank you very much. And lastly, I gotta thank Jen, Lydia, and Naomi of Shot and Applaud. Again, if you want to be like these awesome people, please subscribe to us over on Patreon. Again, patreon.com/cinemarecallpod. You'll get bonus episodes and early access to episodes before anyone else. So definitely check us out there. But however you support us, I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, folks, I will see you all soon. Goodbye.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.